I want you to get together.
Hello everyone, how are we all doing? I've got a bit of a Millennial Rain random thought video for you guys here today. It came off the back of watching a video which was recommended to me in the Telegram group. And it's a video by a channel, I think the channel's called You Ought to Believe. I think that's what it's called. I will leave a link in the description so you can go and check out this guy's channel and the video I saw. He's a small channel with about 600 subscribers, but he did a really interesting presentation where he read this book. It's like a 126-page book, which is like a historical document documenting the bubonic plague and the Black Death, you know, of the 1300s. I think a lot of it was written from a Chinese perspective, an Eastern perspective as well, what was going on during that time, and then how it came into Europe. It was really interesting. And he was basically making a point, how he managed to condense the 126 pages down to like 6 pages worth of reading. So good on him for combing through it all for us and condensing it so well. But he basically was showing how what we've been told about the plague, you know, the Black Death, the bubonic plague, that mainstream tells us, you know, it was caused by fleas on the backs of rats, which spread into Europe from the east and caused just millions of people to die. Like a quarter of the European population was just demolished, you know. But what this story was telling, and what this documented history was telling from this fascinating book, is that a lot more happened than just that. In fact, fleas aren't even mentioned once in the documentation for the Black Death and the plague and the historical research compiled into this book of what we know happened. It turns out that time period, like the mid-1300s, was just a cataclysmic, horrible time to exist for everybody on Earth. And it's incredible, honestly. This you have to go and just listen to what this guy's compiled in the work and the histories that he's talking about here, because he's talking about mountains moving out of their place, chasms opening up in the earth, just literally mountains falling into the sea, volcanoes everywhere, people just dying left, right and centre, a thick, disgusting, horrible, sickly smog just taking over everywhere. Just darkness coming up over everything, the sun going black. We're talking everything that could possibly go wrong with humanity and the earth was happening in this time period. And the plague was just one part of the whole thing. It wasn't actually the main show that was killing everybody. People were dying everywhere for all sorts of horrible reasons. It was like possibly the worst record on human history to ever exist, and he reels off in this talk from this book the numbers of deaths from different parts of the world, and it's astronomical and it's spiritual in nature. You know, it seems like everybody who lived during that time was adamant this is a spiritual judgment. It was nothing but pain and misery for European Christendom during this time, so it's said, you know. And he's using it as an example anyway. He's trying to show, look, people tell us there's no documentation of anything like tribulation ever happening in history. What he's trying to say is, well, there's this book, there's this historical documentation of events happening which are very descriptive and similar to Revelation and tribulation. You know, the things have happened in the past, and there are books, and it is historically documented. It's just the mainstream narrative we've been told is something so stupid in comparison to what possibly actually happened, like fleas on the backs of rats spreading disease. And that if you question the mainstream narrative, you're an idiot, conspiracy theorist instantly, you know. But the narratives we do have from historical documents are not what the mainstream is telling us actually happened. We've just been lied to, and they're assuming no one's ever really going to look into it. And those who do look into it are going to look at it from more of a historical perspective and not really think much about it, you know. And it's a fascinating video. So the link's down below to go and check that out. And it reminded me of something Noel Hadley was telling me about when I had him on the channel. He's done a lot of research as well, trying to look for historical evidence for the Millennial Reign already happening. And do we have historical books that tell us a time just before or during the Millennial Reign where things were documented? And he was talking to me about the worst year on record, which was like, I think it was like 536 to like 547 or something like that, this 10-year period in the 500s, which was just the same story. Absolute pandemonium, pure chaos. Places just burning to the ground, earthquakes everywhere, the sun going dark, like a mini ice age, a horrible plague just ripping through the lands, tearing everything apart, you know, just people just dying, like dropping like flies, the Pope giving permission to just throw bodies into the sea because there's nothing else you're going to do with them, there's too many of them now, we can't bury the dead, you know. And when he was describing this historical account of the Black Death, you know, the bubonic plague from China all the way through into Europe, I couldn't help but hear the paralleled, identical, similar events that went down to this description of what happened in 500 AD, this worst year on record as well. And could it be, just speculating here, and this has been said before by many people, I think Anatoly Fomenko, the Russian chronologist, has I think he's purported a similar idea, that the descriptive event we have for 500 AD of what went down with the horrible plague and the destruction events and the darkness and the ice age and the death and the misery and the pain, you know, and the volcanoes and the lightnings and storms and floods and just a pure of biblical proportion destruction that came upon the earth in that 500 period, could it be describing the exact same events of what we've called the 1300s Black Death? Is it the same events, just given a different historical date? But the truth is, it was the same time. It was, and we've been messed with. Like, the timeline's been messed with, and when we've been told all these things happened, has been separated into two separate events. You know, separated by almost 800 years. But really, was it the same event at some random point in our past, which we were very ill-defined to pinpoint, really, because we've been lied to about our histories? And could this be evidence, again, that, you know, it's come upon us? The tribulation has happened. And it's good timing, really, that this video was suggested to me, because then Shelley just released a video talking about the Lake of Fire. And if you haven't seen that, go check out There's No Place Like Home. I've just listened to it while driving to my new house to get some work done, you know. But she was basically saying it seems like there's evidence that, you know, Satan was already destroyed when tribulation happened. Satan and his angels were already cast into the lake of fire in the past. And she was using the eruption of Mount Vesuvius as an example of when this happened and how people during that time did interpret it as the false prophet and the false gods and Rome, the beast, being destroyed by fire. You know, Rome just burned to the ground, and Vesuvius just wiped out all these temples, and literally a lake of fire just killed all these people worshipping false gods, you know. And she was saying how there was proclamations of the gods are dead now, the gods are no longer with us, and all these type of things. And it's kind of, it truly was the fulfillment of Jesus' promise that, you know, Satan would just be crushed. His head would be crushed. As he bruised his heel, his head would be crushed, and he would be no more, you know. And did that actually already happen? And that opened up a whole other can of worms for me, because it's kind of like, well, if that's the case, then Satan isn't around anymore necessarily. You know, Lucifer, the fallen angel, devil, we call Satan. But then we still have this phenomena of there's still demonic oppression and attack. People still get attacked by demons in the spiritual realm. And I think there's been this assumption that when, you know, the devil or Lucifer and his rebellious angels get cast into the lake of fire, that means the demons go there too after tribulation. But what if that's just not the case? As Shelley speculated, as I'm speculating, it seems like, you know, the Nephilim was still around. You know, the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim giants are still around. The demons are still here. But the angels who created them, they're locked in chains for the final judgment. And Lucifer, who led the rebellion, he was cast into the lake of fire and annihilated, along with his rebellious angels. That isn't to say there aren't still demons continuing the agenda on behalf of the old Lucifer, the old rebellious leader of it all. And it's possible there are many Satans, or many things we can refer to as Satan today, who's been released for the short season. You know, the dragon, the great dragon. Maybe there's like a simulacrum representative of the old dragon remade in the new, but it's not the original one. It's something kind of in the spirit of Satan, you know, or somebody who's trying to emulate Satan gets to rule this short season. Now, I'm just thinking out loud here, by the way, guys. This is just literally me thinking about these new ideas and trying to process them and see how we can make sense of it in light of preterist thought and millennial kingdom coming and going. Well, the millennial reign coming and ending and us living in the little season. So I'm just speculating here based on that idea. But it seems like there's undeniable mounting evidence now, only from the destruction of Rome and the destruction of the temple, and it's just the fire that appeared in 70 AD and during Nero's time, where Rome just burnt to the ground, and the eruption of Mount Vesuvius and the destruction of all these temples for these pagan gods, and then this worst year on history documented in 500, so we're told, where the sun went black and everything just was earthquakes everywhere, people dropping dead like flies, just a horrible time to be alive. And then we're told 1,000 years later the exact same sequence of events happened in 500 AD, just with different names in a different year apparently. But it's possible this was maybe the same event, you know, and we've been lied to about the timeline, perhaps, to cover up the 1,000-year reign of Christ. I have no idea. But what is obvious is a cataclysmic event happened which could be perfectly representative of a true tribulation event, end times, end of an aeon event, the return of Christ, and the destruction that comes with it, and obviously the judgment that came with that. It does seem like there's plenty of evidence in history that there's plenty of candidates for what could be that time, and it's highly possible it's the same event. It's all the same event, you know. There wasn't hundreds of years between them at all, and I don't know, but I just thought it was interesting. So go check out the video from that guy I showed, You Ought to Believe. Links down below. Go check out Shelley's video again if you haven't already. She's just released it a few hours ago, and I thought it was a great speculative video again, just trying to understand the lake of fire. And it's great to see small channels out there joining in on the conversation now and offering their information and their research to piece together this puzzle. That's what it is, you know. We're trying to rebuild a historical narrative here, because we know the mainstream narrative is just bunk. It's just a complete fabrication. And now we have this clue given to us that the millennial reign may have already happened. Now we can start reinterpreting history as we've been told in this new lens, and perhaps seeing if it fits. And it seems like things are fitting into place, and it's a team collaborative effort, which I'm very happy to see happening, you know. So go check out that guy's channel, give him some support, and obviously go check out Shelley's channel. I hope you've liked this little tidbit, just something that got my senses going, my synapses firing, and I just want to share it with you guys because I'm excited about it, and I thought maybe it'll get your brains firing away with some ideas too. Share them in the comments if you've got any insight into this yourself. I'll be fascinated to hear it. And sorry for the low quality video, guys. Like I said, I am in the middle of moving house. I am up tomorrow renting a van, emptying the house out, moving everything in. I've got carpet being fitted, I've got vinyl being fitted, I've got appliances turning up all over the place. It's all go for me. So yeah, there's going to be a slight drop in quality of video, I'm afraid. But yeah, guys, I'll be back with another video soon. Thanks for listening. And as always, God bless.
I want you to get together.